What's goody? Hey man, the Sacramento Kings just fired head coach Mike Brown, and this is a move that I wouldn't necessarily say is surprising. It's one that I think a lot of people did kind of see coming with the way that the Kings are struggling, but it's a move that I don't know how I feel about it off rip. Like my immediate reaction was that I didn't like it because I think Mike Brown is actually a good coach. I think he's a phenomenal offensive mind, and I just think too much of this is being blamed on Mike Brown when the roster just hasn't doesn't fit together the way that the Kings thought the roster would fit together. Now, this isn't a team that I thought was going to come out here after acquiring DeMar DeRozan and be like the 5 seed, or be like a top 6 seed in the West and be one of like the premier teams in the West or anything like that. But I definitely didn't expect them to be 13 and what are they, 13 and 15, sitting as the 12 seed in the East. I mean, in the West on a 4-game losing streak as we speak. Like I definitely didn't expect that either. Let me check their record. They are 13. No, they're 13 and 18. Yeah, so I was right the first time. They are 13 and 18. They're sitting as the 12 seed in the West. They do not have a good record. 5 games below 500. They are a full. Basically, they're a full 3 games behind the Spurs for the 11 seed. So that's not great, right? We didn't expect the season to be this bad. They haven't had any major like crazy injuries or anything like that. But it's really interesting to me because this is a team that I did think would do better, but I can't put all of that on Mike Brown because Keegan Murray has been terrible. There are people on this roster that I think should have been moved and could have been moved last year, like a Kevin Huerter. You could have looked into things like that. I think a guy like Keon Ellis should be getting more minutes. I don't think Keon Ellis has been getting enough minutes in some of these games. Like he's a guy that in some games is getting like a DNP coach's decision, and I think he deserves to play in a lot of these games. So there are things that Mike Brown has done that I don't agree with. And when you fall off from a team to going, like you were the 3 seed 2 years ago. Last year you were like the 6. No, last year you were like the 10 seed or something, and then this year you're currently like the 12 seed. That's not great. But like, I just don't know that I can put all of that on Mike Brown. And don't get me wrong, like he's a good coach. He's a phenomenal offensive mind. And that 2022 season or 2023 when they made the playoffs and played the Warriors and Steph Curry dropped 50. The 2023 playoffs where they did that, they had a phenomenal season. They were the 3 seed. They were like a 50-win team, right? But and let me just go ahead and check that everything. But that last year they were a much lower seed. But I think they had only lost like 3 more games. It wasn't that the team was ass last year, way more ass than they were before. Because when they were the 3 seed, they won 48 games. Now, if we go and look at the 2023-24 season, I think they won 45 or 46. They won 46 games and ended up as the 9 seed. It's not like the team just got that much worse. It's that the West got that much deeper. I would argue that compared to how good the West was last year, the Kings might have even performed better than they did in that 2022 season, 2023 season. And I don't think that's insane to say, which is why I'm not the biggest fan of this firing. I think when you have a guy that gives you your first playoff berth in 16, 17 years, and he takes a all-time great player that you were building a rivalry with in Stephen Curry to a Game 7 in the playoffs, and it took Stephen Curry a heroic, legacy-defining type of game for them to win that in 7 games. It's like, I don't think you can just give up on that guy because the season afterwards, you mess up and you're the 9 seed. Well, you were the 9 seed last year, but I mean, Malik Monk got hurt towards the end of the season. You only lost 2 more games. That's nothing terrible. That's not insane. Kevin Huerter underperformed last year, if I'm remembering correctly, and still you only lost 2 more games than you did the year before when you were the 3 seed with 48 wins. I get the 3 seed from the 9 seed sounds like a huge drop-off, but when you look at the difference of 2 games, it's not that big of a deal. Now, don't get me wrong. I think that this roster that they have right now is better than 13 and 18, and I don't think Mike Brown is necessarily the best coach in ball. I don't think he was doing a phenomenal job or anything, but I just don't know that I agree with the firing. I think that De'Aaron Fox is putting pressure on the organization to do something, and I just think that Mike Brown might have been a little bit of a scapegoat. And I'm not the biggest fan of that because, for one, I don't even know that De'Aaron Fox is necessarily in agreement with this move, first of all. But him and his representation, and I believe his representation is Rich Paul and them, they put pressure on the organization, which is a good thing. I think more players need to start putting pressure on organizations to do things, but I just don't think this was the type of pressure he meant. I think he meant trading some of these guys. I think he meant a guy like Kevin Huerter, testing his value. Thinking about a guy like Keegan Murray, who's a young guy but is having a bad season. Thinking about moving some of these guys isn't necessarily a bad thing. Even a Malik Monk, who's been one of your best bench scorers. I don't think there's anyone on this team that is untouchable when you've got a guy like De'Aaron Fox who's basically asking out. Not actually asking out, but basically asking out. And I'd be very interested to know what De'Aaron Fox thinks of this move, because this is a move that could either have been endorsed by him or a move that's going to make him that's going to put him even more at odds with the organization. Because when you have two guys that are all-star level, that are all-star caliber players in Sabonis and in Fox, you shouldn't be this bad, right? You should never be this ass, especially when you got a guy like DeMar DeRozan and everything like that. It's just that I don't think the pieces fit well. You can't defend the three well. You don't shoot the three very well. You got De'Aaron Fox, who's a guy that, while he has improved his three-pointer, especially last year, that's not what he goes to. Keegan Murray hasn't been doing great this year, especially in terms of like shooting the ball. Let me think. Like Kevin Huerter, he's a good shooter, but he's just not like it's. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not enough. We know DeMar DeRozan isn't shooting a three. We know Domantas Sabonis isn't shooting a three. So that right there is what 2 of the 5 guys in the starting lineup that don't even shoot the threes to begin with, which is not going to work in the 2024 NBA season. It's not going to work with the way the NBA is right now, and I just don't think that Mike Brown was the problem. I kind of think it was more roster issues was the problem. I think the Kings aren't a team that are built. I don't think the Kings are a team that is built to be a great team. I just don't. And now, don't get me wrong, there are things that are puzzling, right? Like, how do you have 2 of the best clutch players in the NBA in De'Aaron Fox and DeMar DeRozan, but then you're one of the worst clutch teams in the league as we speak? That shouldn't happen. Like, DeMar DeRozan's a guy that was a runner-up for Clutch Player of the Year last year, and then De'Aaron Fox won it in its inception, in its first year, that year that they were the 3 seed. Like, you should not be that bad when you have those 2 clutch players. You should never be that bad in the clutch, right? So something has to change. Don't get me wrong. I just don't know that this was the move. Now, I'm not saying that I hate it either. I'm not saying that this was 100% unequivocally not the move either. I'm saying I want to see how it's going to work out, but I don't expect this to be something that's going to just make the Kings a better team. Now, they've got the Lakers again tomorrow. They've played the Lakers, like 2 of the last 3 games have been against the Lakers. They lost both of them, and they're playing the Lakers again tomorrow. So it's wild, right? I want to see what's going to happen then, who their interim's going to be and everything like that, but I just think Mike Brown is far too good of an offensive mind, and he has brought this organization out of what was literally just poverty. I think he did too much for the organization to just fire him in the first year that things weren't great. Last year, you were a 46-win team. Now you were the 9 seed, like I said. But you've got to, like, you as the owner, you've got to look at that and be like, okay, we only dropped off 2 games when our team really didn't improve from that year from the 2022 year to the 2023 year, and it's like your team didn't improve, but the teams around you did, and you still only lost 2 more games than you lost the year before. So I think as the owner, you got to look at that as a kudos to Mike Brown, and I think you've got to give him a little bit more respect, a little bit more leeway than you are with the 1 year of a bad year that you just parted ways with him for. I think, first of all, I don't think there's necessarily anyone better on the market right now. Like, I don't just think that the coaching market is full of great candidates that are better than Mike Brown. So that's a reason I don't think you should have fired him. If you were going to fire him, maybe you do it in the offseason when you have a Coach Bud available who's now in Phoenix. But, like, there was guys available in this offseason that were better. Not necessarily better, but, like, that I could understand you maybe firing somebody for. And I don't think in the offseason anyone was really calling for Mike Brown to be fired or for him being on the hot seat, which is why I'm not the biggest fan of this move. I think it's one of those things where it was kind of an impulse decision. And I don't think it's going to fix the problems that the Kings have right now. But I want to know what y'all think. Y'all let me know. Leave a comment down below and let me know. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps the channel out so much. I'm trying to build something here. Yeah, man, I love y'all. Thank y'all for watching. And let me know what y'all think about this move. I'm really intrigued to know because I haven't heard anyone else's opinion on it. So I literally got home with my girlfriend after shopping, and we went to the grocery store, and I saw that notification. I was walking in the door. I said, oh, okay, bet I'm making this video right now. So I don't know what the sentiment is around the league. Me personally, I'm going to say was not a good move. But, TBD. All right, love y'all.